Yeah, now that we have time to introduce ourselves, because I don't think I did too much of that on the beach. So
We
guys,
got quiet, boys and girls. Listen up, please.
I'm Miss Carrie.
and I'm Miss Sarah.
And that's Miss Sarah.
You just call me Sarah. I don't really care. So, Carrie's going to talk to you about some shells and what's really important while she sets up. You guys can just listen first, and you can ask questions later. Carrie, you going to let them touch them, or?
Oh, we are going to pass them around.
There you go.
You got to touch shells, right?
The main thing with that is, though, if you touch it and you pass it around, just try not to talk, try to pay attention more, okay? But
Yeah,
honestly,
because there's
they're
so much to know. I always run out of time because, oh my word, there are so many things to find on the beach. Now, of course, the water comes in, it brings things, the water comes out, and it takes things away. So you never know what you're going to find on the beach. But the more things you know are available, the more things you'll find on the beach. The more likely you'll find something on the beach. But we're going to talk about seashells. What do you guys know about shells? Anything? Yes. Crabs? Yeah, they hijack somebody's shell, don't they? They'll find an empty shell, hermit crabs, and they'll just crawl in there and make themselves at home. Yes.
When like a snail gets too big for a shell, it leaves and flies.
That would be the crab. That would be the hermit crab. Now the snails pretty much hang out in the shell that they have all their life. As a matter of fact, this guy started out that big, even smaller. And he just kept making his shell bigger and bigger. Now, a clam, an oyster, a scallop, all these things that live in two shells. I know I talked a little bit to my group about it. What were we talking about with two shells? It was like a bicycle, the bivalve. If it only has one shell, like a unicycle, which is a bicycle with one wheel, a univalve. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So, a clam, an oyster, a slipper snail, all those things that live inside these shells are pretty much what they call a valve. That's where the valve part comes in. And a valve is something that lets water in one end and out the other. We know it kind of like a faucet, where you turn a faucet on and off. The water's coming in from one side, but the faucet will stop it. Then you open it up and it comes out the other side. That's a valve. So what these guys do is they take water in, they get all the things they want out of it, sometimes things they don't want, and then let the clean water out, which is why oyster beds are so good for polluted water, because they'll actually get the pollution out of the water. That's kind of something they don't want, but they're cleaning the water, they're filtering the water. They're valving the water, letting it go in one side and out the other. So if they have two shells, those valves, or mollusks, are bivalves. If there's only one shell, it's a univalve. So this clam shell, which is it? Is this a bivalve or a univalve? Bivalve, because there's two, right? Now, this is pretty much this guy's home. It's also part of his body in a way. I mean, if you think about a shell, what part of your body is it kind of like?
The skeleton.
It's like your bones, right? What do your bones do for you?
Make you move.
They help you move, right? They help you stand up erect. What else do they do? Do they protect you, the vital organs, right? You have a rib cage. They keep everything nice and tight and together. They give your muscles a place to anchor, which is what these guys do. They anchor themselves in there. They have a little hinge that they can open and close, and they close it when they're sleeping, I guess, but also when they perceive danger. I've never been able to open a clamshell myself by going like that. Now, I know somebody in the sea world that can, and we'll talk about him later, but I have to get a knife and break that shell open. These guys can't really move around. So Mother Nature gives them that protection. They just sit there, and something can come along, and try and knock and say, please open so I can eat you, but he's not going to do it. Now, there are some creatures that can get through this hard armor. guys watch SpongeBob?
Yes.
Let me tell you something. Funny, funny show. I love it, but really bad science. Do you know who this would be in SpongeBob?
Gary.
Gary! Yeah. Yeah, Gary the pet snail, right?
He's the only one that can go.
Huh?
He's the only one that can go.
He's not the only one. But let me tell you what he does. He's not such a nice guy. He seems real sweet on the show, nice little pet. Well, he's not. What he does is, he's got kind of acidic saliva. It's like lemon juice. That is kind of acidic. It's not like acid that it would burn through our skin. But he also has a rasp-like tongue. A rasp is a type of file. You know, when you're filing metal. But this one's round. That's a rasp. And his tongue is very similar to that. And he gets on top of a shell, and he la goes in a circle, letting his saliva kind of dissolve the shell a little bit, because it's just calcium. And he uses his tongue to create this hole. Now, I've found shells on the beach with this hole, and in the past I always thought it was so Mother Nature would let me have two of them. But that's not what it is. It's the moon snail, which is what this really is, a moon snail. And then what he does is he puts more of his saliva in there, which actually kills the creature inside, kind of melts it down, and then he sucks it up for lunch. Seems innocent enough, doesn't he? But he's not. Now the other guy on this show, Patrick, do you know what he is? He's a starfish. Loves starfish. Loves starfish. But you know what the starfish can do? He can open this.
Yeah, because he can. He got a beak.
He's got a beak? Yes, he does. He's also got, like, suction cups, right? And he can get this thing open.
He can? He big.
He is exceedingly strong. To me, as far as I'm concerned, because I can't open this, but I don't have suction cups on my fingers. I might be able to if I did. And he has that same saliva, melts the creature, and then, worse than just sucking it up, they actually regurgitate their stomach, throw up their stomach in a way, right on top of that there clam, and just eat it, suck it up, develop it into their stomach, and then just swallow their stomach back up. How about that at the dinner table? Thank goodness for evolution, really, because otherwise we'd be doing the same thing and it would not be pretty with spaghetti. So, much as Mother Nature gave that lovely protection to that clam, it is not impervious. It can be broken through. Now, SpongeBob, I have a little piece of sponge somewhere, not really sure where. SpongeBob, which in nature does not come out square, here's a little sponge. Actually, let me pass these around. I'm sorry I'm not doing that. You can pass those around. SpongeBob would look like this. I guess he was dead, but this is a piece of sponge. And what the sponge does, instead of the whole drilling through the shell to eat the animal inside, he's not interested in that.
He just sucks it.
What he likes is calcium. And what did I say is made of calcium? The seashells, right? This is calcium that the minerals that they get when they pass that water through them, they collect all that, they use some of that to form their shell. What SpongeBob does is he puts roots down. He makes roots in the shell and basically just eats the calcium. He's not after the creature, he's not trying to hurt the creature, but what he's doing is ruining their home. He's putting holes in the roof. This is no longer a safe place to live, and that clam doesn't have any other place to go. He's not a hermit crab. He doesn't leave one shell and go to another one. This is it. So once this is destroyed, he's vulnerable. And then fish come along that can open his shell and eat him. It's not such a pretty world down there. Oh, and here's the other part of Gary the moon snail. Can we all say moon snail? Because you find these on the beach, and they're really, really cool. I love moon snails. Now, does anybody know the name of the New Jersey State show? Sarah does. What is it, Sarah?
The knobbed well.
A knobbed whelk, yes. Now, is this a univalve or a bivalve?
A univalve.
Univalve, very good. And this, once again, started out this big, teeny tiny. Oh, shoot, let her see that. It started out really teeny tiny and just kept growing and growing and growing. Now, unlike the knobbed whelk, the channel whelk just has channels. So when you find a univalve like these, and you look at the top of it, you can see the knobbed whelk actually has these knobs on it. The channel whelk has channels. So you'll be able to know the difference. You can pass them around. Now the knobbed whelk, part of the protection that nature gave the knobbed whelk,
Listen, please.
kind of besides the hard shell and its ability to withdraw into that shell. I wish I had a longer one because these come out maybe 2 feet long. This is part of the egg sacs of a knobbed whelk. So when that snail lays eggs, it lays this long trail with all these little envelopes. And you can hear there's little babies in there. There was maybe a dozen per envelope. So there's hundreds of them. I mean, if you think about these being this long with 10 to 12, maybe 20 little snails in each one of these envelopes, you could have like 1,000 snails. The problem with this is, can everybody hear me?
Is everybody listening?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, you can. The problem with this is fish think it's potato chips. They see this floating around in the water and they're like, come, chewing it up. Fortunately, it's this big. There's tons of babies. Half of them might get eaten. 2/3 of them might get eaten. But part of it is going to float to the floor of the ocean and hatch. So even though it's really delicate, it's really delicious, it's delightful, it still has a chance of survival because there's so many of them. So Mother Nature gave it protection through multitudes. Unlike, do you guys know what a skate is? It's like a stingray. You know the stingray or the flying fish? They're real flat. Well, this is the egg sac for that. You can find these on the beach just like you can find the, oh, I put that away. I don't know why I'm not passing things around. See, there's more of them. Yeah, let me get the other one to go the other way. This is an egg sac for a skate. Now there's one baby in here. If this was delightful and delectable and easy to eat, they wouldn't have much of a chance because one and then one gone. But these things are really leathery. It's got these pointy things that look like they would just stick you in the mouth. And they actually will catch on seaweed, so it's not floating around in the ocean like the knobbed whelk's egg sac. So the protection here is, even though there's only one, it has a chance of survival because it's not something the fish want to eat. It doesn't look appetizing. Oops. Now, is this a bivalve or a univalve?
Bivalve.
Bivalve, because there's two. This is a razor clam. And a razor clam, this is so delicate. I don't know how it is nature would think this would protect it. Now, it does protect it somewhat because that fleshy, soft creature that lives in here needs something on the outside. But this is really delicate. When I pass it around, you'll notice how much more delicate it is than the clamshell. But this guy, he kind of sits up straight like that. I've never seen one in the water. They can feel vibrations. And unlike the clam that just shuts, he has little feelers that come out. And he's kind of filtering the water, bringing stuff in. And he'll feel vibrations, whether it's you and I walking like monsters through the water, because we're like King Kong to them. Boom, 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 boom. Or a fish swimming. They can feel it, and they just go zoop, right down into the sand. He can wiggle, and he can wiggle his way down there in seconds, so he can get away. Unlike the clam, who can't get away. He has no way of running. Now, the scallop does have a way to get away. He can kind of dig his way into the sand a little bit, so can the clam, really. They can kind of do a little manipulating. But this guy actually has a bladder, kind of like a squirt gun, where when he opens up, he can suck in water. And if he feels danger coming, he can close his shell really quick. And what that does is propel him, because the water shoots out, he just goes and floats away. Now, if it was you and me chasing him down, he doesn't go that far. He's not a jet going across the sky. He can just go, vroom, and he's over there. So you and I take another step till we finally get him. But how fast do you think the moon snail's going to go? Not very quick. Moon snail's not going to get up on top of him if he's paying attention. He's just going to go. Moon snail's going to be like, I'm coming to get you. But he's not going to get it. Take far.
Is a scallop a bivalve or a univalve, guys?
Listen,
A scallop shell? Is it a bivalve or a univalve?
Bivalve. Very good. We'll be asking these questions later, you know. Now, there's also, is this the oyster drill? Yeah, the oyster drill. Now, he's a little tiny guy, which is a bivalve or a univalve? Univalve. It's only one. One. And he's teeny tiny. He's the cutest little guy. But he does the same thing the moon snail does, only he does it to the oysters. Now, an oyster shell has a really rough surface compared to this nice smooth surface of the clamshell. And this rough surface isn't very inviting to the moon snail. He could probably cut his really delicate flesh on this. But this guy's so little, it's sort of like doing some landscaping. He's just going around the rocks and the sharp parts, and he finally finds a place he likes, and he starts drilling his hole, just like the moon snail. Now, an oyster, you know they make pearls, right?
Yes.
Do you know how that happens?
Well, first they have spit, and then it gets hardened, and then it turns to a ball, and then it pops out.
That's kind of it. That is the scenario. The thing about, do you ever guys get a pebble in your shoe?
Yeah.
A rock in your shoe? You think, it's nothing, I'm not going to take my shoe off, I don't feel like tying it. Then you're like, I got to, it's killing me. Well, the same thing happens to the oyster. A little piece of sand gets in a spot that he can't get it out from. He can't flush it out with the water. And it just starts really irritating his skin. So what he does is he uses his narc. Now, the narc is the same thing they line their shell with. It makes a nice smooth bed for that sweet soft shell of flesh of theirs to lay on. They couldn't do very well out here, but this, they saved the good stuff for the inside. And they take that narc and they just start wrapping it around that little grain of sand. They just make that go around and around and around it. Now, if it's a weird piece of sand, then you get a weird looking pearl. But most pieces are just like little round things, and so that's why you get round pearls. But that's where the pearl comes from. It's just him making a comfortable situation out of a very irritating one. Where's my slipper snail? We talked about slipper snails. I wish I had a bigger sample. I know I did at one point. Is this a univalve or a bivalve? There it is.
A univalve. A univalve.
It's actually a univalve. It looks like there should be two, but you guys looked at that horseshoe crab?
Yes.
Did you see him when he was upside down? You could see his legs?
Yes.
Well, on the back end by his tail, there were a couple of these. And these slipper snails are just one shell. They have that little shelf inside. It's kind of like living in a tent or a lean-to. And what they do is they can create a glue. And they just basically glue themselves to things. And they'll glue themselves on top of themselves. When you're at the beach, you'll find multitude slipper snails stacked up on top of each other. There's also jingle shells. Where are my jingle shells? Here we go. Which I think are so much fun. I don't have enough to jingle. They call them mermaid's toenails. And by the way, the skate egg sac, that little black thing with the hooks on it, that's known as the mermaid's purse. And what is the name of the New Jersey state shell? Well, can you all say that? Well. Yes. I forgot what I was saying about it.
The eggs.
Oh, and the egg sac is known as the mermaid's necklace. So these they call the mermaid's toenails, and these are also univalves. They're just like the slipper snail, where they make their own glue, and you see them on top of rocks. Keep dropping stuff. You see them on rocks all the time, and when they die, they basically just break off. Put them together and they jingle. You take them and you rub them on the edge of it on a shell. You can make body glitter. I love these, but they're also very delicate. Now, one of the other things we find on the beach, does anybody know what this is? It's garbage. So once again, don't leave your garbage on the beach. We find these gorgeous shells called the quahog.
I found one of them.
You found one of these?
Yeah, it was little. It was broken.
Like a little piece?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, do you guys know the Lenape Indians? The Lenape Indians used to live around here. They lived quite a few, like they lived in Pennsylvania, but the lucky ones lived here by Sandy Hook. And they used to come to the beach all the time, just like I do, because I live near it, just like you would if you lived near it, right? Well, the Indians were the same way. We're talking about American Indians. And they'd go to the beach, they'd go fishing, they'd cook, they'd use shells for all kinds of implements and instruments. What do you think you could do with a shell like this? If you went to the beach and you were planning on having a barbecue, but you didn't bring anything with you, but maybe something to start a fire, what do you think you could be using these shells for?
Fire food.
You would eat them?
No.
Would you eat off of them?
No.
Why not? They would come in bigger sizes. These make a great dinner plate, especially if you're eating seafood. How wonderful is that?
It's good.
You could drink out of it. You could put a stick on it and use it to stir your fish stew. You could put it on the fire and actually cook your fish in it. So they'd go to the beach and collect shells and use them, but they'd also collect this quahog shell. Do you know the name of money for Indian in Indian language? Once again, Sarah knows. Do you know?
Starts with W. No? It's wampa.
Wampa.
Yeah,
Have you guys heard that word before?
Just one time.
Just one time? Well, it's actually a thing. And what they would do is they would take this shell and they would cut that purple out and they would turn it into beads and make it into belts, necklaces, bracelets, and they would trade it. So they would basically go to the beach with pretty much nothing in their pockets, come home with a full belly and money. Can't beat that with a stick. So anytime I'm on the beach and I look for this because I absolutely love the quahog shell.
Excuse me?
We can find those on the beach like crazy. I scream out, I found money! I'm rich!
That's true, she does that.
I do, because I am. It's true. And they're really beautiful after who gets them? Who got them? Who got this one? Who is this a victim of? SpongeBob, huh? The sponge put its roots in this and made a beautiful piece of stone for me. Talk about stones.
Make sure
Oh,
you
yeah,
get the
yeah, I
darker
can pass
purple
those
ones
around.
too, guys. The darker
Here.
it is, the more
Yeah, the darker it is.
Look, I messed up.
Yeah, you can take that around too. Now, the other thing you can find on the beach besides money is antiques. Believe what you may, you can find things that are over 100 years old. Who's this a victim of?
No. The
What's not the sun, but the
snail.
moon snail. The moon snail, that's right.
I want that black one.
Now here is some sea glass. I talked to you guys on the bus about sea glass. This sea glass is truly sea glass. Do you know how it becomes sea glass?
Are you guys listening?
Listen.
It tumbles around out there in the sand. Now, glass is made from sand. It's quartz. It's melted down. And
It makes her all out.
so when it's out there in the ocean, it's like being in a giant rock tumbler. And a rock tumbler is something that just keeps turning with sand in it. And you put your rocks in there and they end up being really shiny because it ends up kind of sanding it to a high polish. So when this glass is out there long enough, and that's the problem, a lot of the glass out there isn't out there long enough. This has been out there plenty long. And so the edges have all been sanded down by being tumbled around from the waves. And it used to be clear, but it has this nice opaque look now. You can see through it, but you can't see through it. Light gets through, but not your vision. So anyway, back to the antiques. Back in the day, and I'm talking about late 1800s, early 1900s, there were steamships out there. Now the New York Harbor, what you're going to see when we get up to where we're eating lunch, there's a lookout platform, and you can see New York. That's why we have a lighthouse here, because we're so close to the harbor, but also so boxed in by land. The shifting of the water, the ocean floor made things really treacherous. And so anyway, ships would come in and they'd wreck, and one of the things that those steamships needed was coal. It needed coal to fuel that fire to make the ship go. And sometimes those coal ships that were bringing the coal to the steamships would hit something and turn over and wreck. And so there's a bunch of coal out there that has been pressurized even more now by the weight of the ocean, because once you get way down, you know, Diver Dan's got to have that suit, right? Because it's just so much pressure the further you go down. So this coal has even been compressed more. So that ends up washing up on the beach, and that's one of my favorite finds. Now those steamships were not conscientious about keeping the ocean clean. Back in those days, they thought it was a bottomless pit. They would take their garbage, throw it overboard, bye-bye, it's gone, the fish will eat it. Well, they don't. But the other thing they would do is they had to clean the pan out from underneath where all this coal burnt. Now, coal has a lot of minerals in it. And those minerals would end up, oh, that fire was just so hot, it was unbelievable. It was a forge. It was just like this stoking hot fire. And so all those minerals would kind of magnetically get together, and they would melt. And they would melt together. And they would form what they call slag. And this is a piece of slag that came out of one of those trays that they threw overboard from the steamships. So this is well over 100 years old, a relic from the steamships. And it floats up on our beaches in all different sizes. Does anybody know what this is? This is one of my faves. Peanut stone. Get out the jelly. It's bog iron, which you find a lot of that. This orangey looking stuff, which is like an iron mineral gotten together and formed into a rock sort of thing. And the peanut stone is bog iron with all these little tiny stones in it. And there is tons of it here. It's actually considered indigenous to the area. Can you all say the word indigenous? Indigenous. Say it again. Indigenous. Yes. That means it comes from here. Nobody brought it here. It didn't fall out of the sky. It's actually from here. And when you guys are leaving and you're going up the hill and you're going through town, there's a whole bunch of houses that have this for their fence and their foundation, because they would use it. It was what was here. They would just cut it into blocks and use it to build their homes. Peanut stone, indigenous to the area. Another stone that I love because it sparkles is Manhattan schist. S-H-I-S-T. Spell it correctly. And it's really shiny, and it's indigenous to the New York area. And there's tons of it. If you're going down a road in New York and it has like one of those big walls, you know, sometimes you're on the road and there's walls on both sides. Really check out those walls, because they're more than likely Manhattan schist. they're usually kind of full of pollution and you can't tell as much, but they're still sparkly enough that you'll know it's Manhattan schist. Can you please all say Manhattan schist? Manhattan schist. Fabulous stone. That's one of my favorite finds. Give her, yeah, split that, give her one. What else do we have? This is bog. Just regular old bog iron. And bog iron's really cool because whatever it forms around is what it looks like. It's not like it's a giant rock that breaks down into smaller stones. It kind of is just made by all the collection of this mineral together under pressure. And so whatever it's pressing against, it has all these really weird shapes. I used to think it was like part of bad pipes that fell in the ocean and the iron just broke away and that's why it looked like that. But that is not the case. We also have sea worms. These are a fun find. They make these little houses. They kind of do it like the shells make their shells, like the clams and stuff. They just create this fabulous. I think this one's actually fossilized though, because they're not usually like this stone, are they?
What?
Are they usually this hard?
No.
Yeah,
What,
I think
the worm
that's.
itself?
No, the house, the little thing they make.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
It hardens because the sand kind of forms. It squishes together from the worm.
Oh, okay. So you find those on the beach. And then you also find, and I think I talked to you guys about that on the bus, fishermen's leftovers.
Find those in my feet a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, just don't pick them up. Just leave them. I mean, they end up with hooks on them and all kinds of crap. And they're not worth anything, so you might as well just let them be. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Oh, thirsty stone. Where's the thirsty stone?
To your right. Top. Right. Your right.
I don't know my left
Right
or my
there?
right. Oh,
Okay.
my.
Do your L's. There you go. Yep, over there. Take your finger. Your finger. Okay, now go towards that. No.
Oh, right here. Thirsty stone. This is a very, very lightweight stone. If you had that that coal in your hand and that was really heavy, this is really light. It's usually this pale green, and it's very, very porous. It has lots of holes in it. And you put it in a little bit of water, and it'll just suck that water up. You put it in a little bit of water, and it just sucks that water up. It's just fabulous. Here, let me see that coal. Feel the weight of that coal compared to that. They're very different in shape and size. I wish I don't have any lava. Yeah, you actually find, and pumice is the other thing you find here. Black pumice. It's just like it looks a little bit like the thirsty stone with all the holes in it, except it's black and it's very rough. You can tell it's not coal because the coal is real shiny and hard, and the pumice, which you can actually use to clean up your elbows and your thumbs or if you have calluses, is very porous and glassy, is how I tend to describe it. Does anybody have questions? Because I think we're going to be getting to go on our tour next.
Questions?
Anybody? No
Girls,
questions?
any questions?
What's the state shell?
What's the New Jersey state shell?
Are you two listening?
I'm going to ask you this when I have cool things in my hands.
Pass it
Is
on.
it indigenous to this area? Very odd question. It kind of is. It comes from here. But who knows why? It could have been brought here from something else. Yes? I need to have my rocks back so we can put things up. What do you call this? Peanut stone. Yes. You want to touch it? Yeah, as soon as it gets this way. Yeah, let me get my seashells back. Who sabotaged this?
I didn't see it yet. SpongeBob!
The sponge! The sponge got it. Ruined the integrity of the shell. The shell's integrity is to be nice and hard and create a home, and he ruined that. Broke it on down. Yes? Oh, you want to see the peanut stone?
I didn't get to touch the thirsty stone.
The thirsty stone, is that still going around, guys?
Excuse me?
And it sucked it up? Good about that.
Is this like a 4?
You guys think you're gonna find some when we go to the beach later?
I think we are. Do you remember the name of this one?
Cohog.
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 Cohog. C-O-H-O-G. Cohog. The Lenape Indians made wampum out of it. So you can find money and antiques. Do you remember this one?
Alright, so
Manhattan schist. How about, once again, what is the New Jersey State shell? Knobbed whelk. Whelk. A knobbed whelk. So when you come up to me and ask me if this is a knobbed whelk, that's what I'm going to want to hear. Yes. You didn't get to feel what? Where is the thirsty stone?
It's a pale green one. It's smooth. There you go.
There it is. You want to pass that over here so she can... A couple people wanted to touch that.
Now who knows what all the mermaid stuff was?
Who remembers the mermaid things? What is...
Toenail? The toenail.
give it to
This is
her.
the toenail. The gel.
Jabray.
That's the layers of the
From the
nail.
knobbed whelk, the New Jersey
nail.
State shell babies.
And what's that one?
This is the mermaid necklace.
And the mermaids what?
Mermaid's
Necklace.
Purse. Purse.
Maybe she'd put her seashell.
Why is it so small?
Because the skate, the baby's, it's
There's
eggs.
only one baby egg and it's an egg. So that's a baby.
now?
Huh?
Right now?
No, it's already hatched. There's a hole in the back.
Those are really nice oysters. You guys ready to go
Nice to each other.
back in history? Learn a little bit of history?
Yes.